I don't know what the weather was like that day, and I couldn't find a record of where the meeting was held or the exact number of people that were there. But what I do know is that on a special day in 1917, amongst the backdrop of World War I, a group of Nebraska farmers and ranchers came together and voted for a new state association. They wanted an association that brought farmers and ranchers together to make life better for themselves and for their families. And most importantly, they knew that by working together, they could accomplish more than by working alone. It didn't take them long to prove that they were right. 2 short years after this group was formed, they supported the first bill in the Nebraska legislature, their first bill in the Nebraska legislature. This bill allocated $15,000 of state money for the establishment of a game and fish substation in Dundee County. Now that might sound a bit odd, but there's always more to the story. You see, the association and its members were concerned about infestations of grasshoppers that would destroy their crops. They didn't have the pesticides and other control measures that we have today. The grasshopper threat to farmers and ranchers was very, very real, and they needed a solution to the problem. The bill they supported, House Roll number 98, would promote the hatching and rearing of pheasants that could then be distributed across the state of Nebraska in areas that were afflicted by grasshoppers. Because of the work of this new organization in the March of 1919, Nebraska Governor Samuel R. McKelvey signed that bill into law, and the association and its members had their first advocacy win. You might be familiar with this organization. It's the Nebraska Farm Bureau. As I look across the room, I think I see the same thing that those founding members saw when they formed the organization in 1917, a room full of hardworking people making a living off the land who support their families and who support their communities. People who understand that we can get more done together than we can working alone. That common belief continues today. As you know, this year marks the 100th year of Nebraska Farm Bureau, of a heritage of serving members. Over the past 100 years, the challenges facing agriculture have consistently evolved, but the values that make us who we are, honesty, integrity, respect, have not. For the past 100 years, we've been the trusted voice for farm and ranch families in Nebraska, not just in name, but in action. You will recall when animal rights groups came to the state of Nebraska to push their initiatives, we shut them down. When the U.S. Department of Labor wanted to stop kids from being able to work and learn on farms and ranchers, we were there to make sure those opportunities weren't taken away. When measures were introduced to eliminate sales tax exemptions on agricultural inputs that would have increased the average operations taxes by $25,000, we were there to make sure this proposal died a quick death. And when the EPA and the Army Corps of Engineers rolled out what would have been the largest expansion of regulatory authority over private lands in the history of our country, we were there to lead not just agriculture, but other impacted interests in the fight to ultimately defeat the waters of the U.S. rule. Every day for the last 100 years, the Nebraska Farm Bureau has been there to fight the good fight for the greater good of members in agriculture. Today, we are here to celebrate that milestone. At this time, I would like to recognize all Farm Bureau members, organizational leaders, staff, present and past, who have made this organization what it has been. Please stand and join me in recognizing you for your efforts. This is all of us. Well, it's good to reflect on where we've been. I want to talk about where we're at today and where we're headed. I will start with property taxes. If there's anything I want you to take away when you leave this room, is that your organization is fully invested in the property tax issue. In all my time involved with Farm Bureau, I've never seen an issue where we've committed more and invested more time and resources than we have on the property tax issue. This organization has and continues to be all in to lessen your property tax load. But make no mistake, it's been 50 years since the last major overhaul of our tax system, and while it's certainly time, making significant changes has clearly not come easy. Yet that has not deterred us. We continue to push forward on numerous fronts. As part of that, we continue to work to find a legislative solution. I still believe there's an opportunity to work with Governor Ricketts and the legislature to find a path forward for tax reform that sets us on the right track for property tax relief both now and in the future. In addition, we continue to work with education and other interests to seek common ground as it relates to alleviating property tax pressure to fund schools, while at the same time providing for a quality education. And while we continue to work in the legislative arena, we're not putting our eggs all in one basket. We will continue to be open to legal options to solve the problem. I know some of you believe a lawsuit is the direction that we should go. I want you to know that we've looked at that angle and we've yet to find a legal option that gets us where we need to be. But we will continue to keep that option open as we move forward. Finally, we continue to engage with those focused on taking this issue directly to the Nebraska voters through a ballot measure. In short, that proposal would provide a refundable income tax credit for half of the property taxes that you currently pay for K-12 education. If that's ultimately what we need to do in order to get relief, we will apply every effort to make it a reality. The bottom line is this: no matter where I go or who I talk to, property tax is the top priority. In the coming days and weeks, as Farm Bureau members, you will hear from me directly about opportunities for further engagement on this issue. What I know is that we will absolutely need your support and your action as we lead in making property tax relief a reality. And while property taxes are front and center, international trade continues to be a policy priority as well. Trade is critical to every one of us in this room. Today, nearly 1/3 of the gross net farm income comes from trade, and 1 out of every 3 U.S. acres is planted for export. More importantly, almost 96% of the world's population lives outside of the United States, and 3/4 of the world's purchasing power resides beyond our borders. Exports are where the future for Nebraska agricultural commodities lie. To be successful, we must develop new markets, lower trade barriers, encourage trade agreements, capitalize on opportunities to build trust, and engage on the ground in the markets that matter most. That was never more important to me when last September I took part in the governor's trade mission to Japan. I wish every one of you would have the opportunity to go on a trade mission at least once. Every time they are eye-opening and informative. One of the things I find true no matter where I go is that personal relationships are extremely important. Our international buyers want to see who they're dealing with, and they want to talk to the people who are producing the products they are going to buy. In Japan, it was striking just how strong the desire from the Japanese people to purchase Nebraska products was, specifically as it relates to our high-quality beef and pork. The best example was when we were at a restaurant in Tokyo. Their owner, Toshiaki Kamada, of the Sagami Chain Company, this is a company that has over 100 locations in Japan, signed an agreement with Smithfield Foods to purchase pork cutlets produced in Crete, Nebraska. Again, these are pork cutlets produced here in the state of Nebraska. Breaded pork cutlets are a major item in this restaurant chain and are sought out by Japanese customers. It's a prime example about how products from here at home have gained favor in international markets. This also demonstrates the need for the President and his administration to be extremely careful in how they handle relationships with our trading partners. And it's why Nebraska Farm Bureau is participating in the Governor's Council for International Trade Relations. It's why we participate in trade missions to help build relations with our trading partners. And it's why we advocate for trade agreements and why we are working to demonstrate the importance of trade. To this end, after lunch today, we will be holding a news conference to unveil a new economic analysis and breakdown of the importance of the North American Free Trade Agreement and how important that is to Nebraska. It's that type of critical analysis that will help push the Trump administration to make smart decisions when it comes to trade policy. We need leadership on trade, and Nebraska Farm Bureau will continue to lead in these efforts to increase the value of agriculture commodities and improve the financial position of farmers and ranchers today and well into the future. Speaking of the future, and I often say this and I really believe it is true, if we do what's right for young farmers and ranchers, the rest of us will be fine. I believe this is true for those of us in agriculture and for everyone else as well. But to serve future generations, it's critical we partner together to keep Nebraska Farm Bureau's organization strong. So how do we do that? A big part of it is making sure we continue to recognize the circumstances in which we operate and how those circumstances impact our ability to do what we need to do to serve members. In short, if the weather forecast is calling for heavy snow, we need to make sure we're dressed correctly and the loader tractor is ready. Because like the weather, the surroundings and the issues in agriculture are changing, and they're changing fast. It was never more evident than when Dr. Catlett spoke this morning. Those changes, though, bring challenges, of course, but they also bring us opportunity. Today, 28 of the 49 legislative seats come from Douglas, Sarpy, and Lancaster counties. More than half of our state's entire population today reside in those counties. That means there are more people today making decisions that affect our well-being who are less likely to understand what we do on our farms and ranches. That fact, combined with term limits, which drives greater turnover in the legislature, makes it critical that we find new and creative ways to build connections and relationships between Nebraska agriculture and our elected leaders in Lincoln. While challenging, here lies the opportunity for us to showcase the strength of our organization. And when I say that, I mean our members and our county farm bureaus. You are the strength of our organization. We must engage at a higher level to build relationships so we can continue to shape the future. And frankly, there's no better time than now to get started. During the delegate session, you'll have the opportunity to sign your county Farm Bureau up for a day at the state capitol. I hope you and your county will make a commitment to go to Lincoln. While it's important that you visit your state senator, it's also important that we visit members that connect with non-rural senators as well. Just like building relations with our international trade partners is critical to trade, building relationships that fill the information gaps and tear down barriers is just as important with our elected leaders, and it will be the success of our organization in the future. With that said, I want to be clear in pointing out that the partnership between your county farm bureau and the state office is not a one-way street. For Nebraska Farm Bureau to remain strong, we're working to provide greater service to you and your county farm bureau. When county farm bureaus engage in local issues, good things happen. And the Nebraska Farm Bureau stands ready to help in every way that we can. A great example of the power of partnership between a county farm bureau and the state organization happened this fall in Custer County. Custer County Farm Bureau's successful work to oppose the recall of a Farm Bureau member who was serving on the school board. It's that type of teamwork that helps strengthen the County Farm Bureau and our state organization. One of the best things about that effort was that I had the opportunity to spend a day in Custer County meeting with the members on that topic and other things that were going on. Even though much of the time was spent looking at the devastating effects of multiple hail and rainstorm events, there was great conversation about the future as well. To build on further partnerships between County Farm Bureau, it is my goal to visit every County Farm Bureau in the state. You will be hearing more about this from me in the year to come. All of us in this room are caretakers of this organization. It's our responsibility to guide it during the short time that we are here. I'd like to think that the members who started the organization in 1917 would look back at it today and be amazed at how the seeds that they planted have grown and continue to bear fruit. I think they'd be amazed at the accomplishments that have been made, as well as amazed by the changes and challenges that we face today. I also think that they could not have imagined a day when our association would need a foundation to promote an understanding of the importance of agriculture to Nebraskans. But we do. In this ever-changing world in which we live, Nebraska Farm Bureau cannot just keep up. We must lead. That's how we will continue our strong heritage of serving members for the next 100 years. I thank you for allowing me to serve as your president. Thank you to county members and leaders for making this the great organization that it is. Thank you to the board of directors for countless hours of service to the organization. Thank you to the Nebraska Farm Bureau staff for all your efforts on behalf of members. And thank you to my family, my wife Elma, our son Scott, his wife Amy, our grandchildren Sam, Luke, and Britta, our daughter Stacy, and her husband Bobby. Without them, I could not be in front of you here today. God bless Farm Bureau. God bless the great state of Nebraska, and God bless America. Thank you.